Before adding anybody to your database, you want to make certain that they're not already there. I'm going to click on my contacts branch, which by the way could be named donors, voters, employees, constituents, contacts, anything. That label is entirely up to you. Up on the top, I'm going to add a person by the name of Jared Ritter. And what I'm going to do first is check to see if the name Ritter exists in my database, and it does. There's Jeffrey and Stephen, but no Jared. Now, by the way, I could have also just typed in RIT, and it would have brought back everybody whose last names began with RIT if I wasn't certain about the precise spelling. Is there two T's in Ritter or not? If I wasn't certain, just put in the fewest number of characters that you can. Now, the other thing I could have done too is if I really wasn't sure how to spell it or if it was a first or last name. Sometimes when the names are two first names like Ron Paul, I'm not sure where to search for that name. So I'm going to put the letters RIT over into here, and I'm going to get a whole lot more records. Britta, Rita, Britain, but wherever that RIT exists in any part of the name, it'll find it if I place it over in this particular field. So Jared Ritter does not exist. I'll put this back in again, and this time I'll actually even type in the name as I know it to be spelled, Jared Ritter. And it comes back and says that there are no records found. So I'll click New from here. I can also do it from here. So I've got two new buttons with which I can create this record. I will click the New button, and it's already filled this in for me. I may add a title up here or not. That's up to you. The various tabs, starting with General, Household, and so on, allow you to store different kinds of information within each of those tabs. Under the General tab, we have address, contact, profile, work, and so on. We're going to store our addresses under the General tab. And the address is going to be 1401 7th Avenue South. And I'm going to come all the way down to zip code and just type in the zip code. And as I click, I'll click over here into city. And when I click it, it fills in the city and state for me. Click OK. The checkbox over in here indicate what kind of an address this is. It's a home address, or maybe I want to change it to a work address, or leave it as, right now I've got it as both, but I can turn them both on there. We'll talk about these in a few moments. I'm going to add a second address in here. So I'll say new. And I'm going to start typing in 123 East space. And as I typed in that space, it brought back a bunch of addresses that currently exist in the database that I might select from. Now, if it's one of these, I just select it. But if it's not one of those, in fact, I'll pick the select. But if it wasn't one of those, I'd continue filling it in up on the top. But at the moment, I'll select one here and click OK. Now I'll scroll down, and this address is indicated as an other home address, and it may be, but again, whatever appropriate checkboxes you'll set. It's not the default display nor the mailing. Let's talk about those now. So up here, I've got my default display and mailing set. When I do a save, just to commit that record back out to the cloud, what I've just told the database is that this address, this 1401 7th Avenue South, is going to be the address that will be displayed when I do queries. So if I come up here and I refresh my screen by looking for Jared Ritter, it says 1401 7th Avenue South. But if I go back to this record, which has not yet been named in the label there, that label will change if I reopen it. In fact, let's do that. I'll close out this record. I'll reopen the Jared record. And my open window shifts now because it now knows the name of this record to be Jared Ritter. But I'm going to go back to my address, and I'm going to make this the default display address. I'll save and I'll close, and I'll search. And now I've got the 123 East Minnehaha Suite 22 address being displayed. So let's go back in and add a few more things onto Jared's record. By the way, you'll notice up here the contact type. You're going to want to set this appropriately. In my case, I've got individual, corporation, or foundation. Those are your only choices, but for depending upon whether you are a political or a nonprofit, has different meanings. So if you're a political, it's very important to set the contact type. If you are a nonprofit, it's less important. And in the political, this drop down, the options in here will change. If you are a nonprofit, what you just saw there is going to be the case. Now, if you need more categories, than what's shown in this contact type. That's what attributes are for. You can read about that or see future videos on the use of attributes. I'm going to go over to the Contact tab. We store up to 8 different phone numbers. You can store notes in this field up to 50 characters, and it might be an extension, or it might be that this is the cabin or second house in Minnesota. We have cabins. Email address. We store up to 2 email addresses per person, which, by the way, if I save this information now, I'll go back to my address, and I'm going to set the first one to be my default display and the one where my letters go to or mailings go to. I'm going to save and close, and when I come back in, you'll see that the address has been updated. I'll do that. Reopen Jared, and now there's an email address there. Employer and occupation, if that's important for you, can be added in here, and so on. The user tabs. The user fields are an area where you can store information of your choosing, and these are renamable with a right mouse click. When you are satisfied that you've entered in all the appropriate information for your new record, save and close.